You know how every single game console is home to massive, lengthy adventure games that become your favorites and go down in history as the greatest of all time? Well, forget that crap! Let's talk about the sidekicks and the diamonds in the rough that bring the fun again and again while you wait for that next big Zelda or sequel to your favorite RPG. This video is all about those classic levels in old-school non-adventure games that just never seem to get old, and are easily replayed at any given moment with no hesitation. But we need rules or we'll be here for days, dude. So here's the 2 rules. 1, only 3 levels maximum per game. And 2, first stages don't count unless they truly are the most fun among all the rest the game has to offer. I don't want to hear about your 1-1s, although they're very nice. Final disclaimer, I have not played every game in existence, so forgive any omissions. These are merely entries from my own gaming history, which have been mostly things released on Nintendo consoles. So find a nice cushion and saddle up, because here's some classic action stages with near endless replay value, in no real order of greatness or anything. We'll kick it off fast and exciting with Silence from F-Zero X on the N64. This racetrack is just a straight shot full of boost pads set to awesome metal music to really push the top speed of your vehicle, and next to no challenge really to get in the way of the fun. It's the perfect second level to just say, now that you understand how the game works, see how fast you can go. The super slight adjustments you need to press to reach the boost without losing speed, they just feel so good, man. And the sounds of hitting the pink strips going into the final lap combined with the constant boost sound, it all just coalesces to form the perfect racing morsel that never seems unwelcome.
Rob Haywood versus Kensuke Kimachi. Ready? Go!
Takes you back, doesn't it? Golden Forest of 1080 snowboarding is just one of a few great snowboarding courses in the game, but it is truly the golden center of the package, with awesome music, superb lighting effects for its time to complement the name, and so many fun weaving corridors lined with trees and stumps to add a sense of speed to the old N64 that otherwise looks pretty slow today. The middle section is famous for that iced-over river with a precise path that leads to a shortcut over top a huge log that always feels good to hit. It's short and sweet like everything in this game, but never a bore. A second mention for this game would have to be Dragon Cave, unlocked on the hard difficulty. This huge place has 2 really awesome paths of approach. You can either dive off the entire mountain in the beginning, which feels pretty sweet, especially back then, or even better, you can navigate the bridges on top of the mountain and hop into the Dragon Cave itself, where the tight corridors increase the feeling of intensity just before jumping out. It may be really basic today, but there's nothing like a good tunnel, dude. But let's head on over to a whole new mountain.
You're tuned to Radio Big.
Here's a little mountain info for those of you out riding today. Reports of avalanche conditions have been coming in from Peak 3 Ski Patrol, with conditions expected to worsen through the overnight hours. And it's not going to stop you thrill seekers down in Peak 1 from getting out in that sweet, powdery nightlife. Metro City has been on fire in this SSX circuit. Checking in with the competitor spotlight, veteran Simon Stark. The man is loving it. You know, just yesterday I caught him sleeping upside down on a rail in the middle of a slope. When I went to approach him and ask why he didn't just head up to the lodge, he started barking, got on his board, and went for another run down the mountain. Perhaps one too many volts to his head. But can you blame the guy? With slick rails winding down all avenues of the city and perfectly polished ramps making for some huge jumps, there's a seemingly endless amount of ways down to that finish line. How can you have just one session? I'll tell you one thing though, if you really want to see this animal in his natural habitat, you gotta head over to Peak 2's Intimidator. Yeah, I get the feeling somehow ice-glazed terrain, winding tunnels, and falling trees must sound like a warm bed and breakfast to Simon. But hey, whatever keeps him coming back and putting on this sweet of a show, huh? Gotta love the man.
Another hole in the ozone! That's gotta be illegal! We got that super prime air time! Touchdown! I'm just letting go of the snow! Shot that monkey! 2 times.
Just got word from our friends down at the Wave Race circuit. Looks like some heavy storms are pounding the coastline of the beloved southern island. Seems like fan favorite Ryota Hayami isn't letting those huge waves slow him down. But you know, that's just the magic of this place. Southern Island is the final test. It's where champions are crowned. There could be a hurricane out there and these guys would still be focused on that trophy. But the longer you look at this, it's hard not to be mesmerized, you know? As you watch him jump that ship and come around the corner to the famous dock, you never know where the tide's gonna be. Is he gonna go under or fly over the thing? You can't ever forget that first championship in 1996. A brand new racer at the time, but the champion came out when he fought those 3 huge rolling waves and still managed to hit the ramp and dive under the dock, leaving everyone behind. So it's no surprise that he's been meeting these stormy conditions like a walk in the park. Earlier in the circuit, he had a great race on Aspen Lake under some heavy rainfall. Man, what a beautiful place that is, huh? With those fall colors always among the foliage. But man, it got dark in that race. Check out this footage as he crossed the line to start the final lap. You can see a huge lightning flash brought with it some nasty conditions for the racers to contend with. But they love it, we love it. I say keep it coming. It's almost as if the gods know it's competition time, so they're just throwing out all the crazy weather. You know, I hear Ryota still gets his practice in at Sunset Bay. Does that place ever have a bad sunset? Alright, I'm done trying to be DJ Atomica. But seriously, dude, Sunset Bay is like the epitome of replay value. You come home after a stressful day, and you want to do something fun, but you don't want to have to think or try hard. Just drink up that orange ocean, and listen. No, seriously, listen. That music is proof alone as to why we need another Wave Race game on modern consoles. You can't ever steer around this course and hate it. Similarly, for our final Wave Race entry on this list, Drake Lake remains one of the most peaceful and easily replayable levels in all video games. The fog lifting effect each lap, and that first turn where you can skim over those few little bushes on the narrow side before the big zigzaggy buoys, it all just feels so freaking good. It's the simple things, man, and this level takes you to a good place. I mean, really, Wave Race 64 is one where every single level could be on this list, but that would break my rule stated at the beginning, stupid. Trying to stick in other levels, I know. Hey! This next one's for me. The Embassy Function level of Mission Impossible on the N64. Say what you want about the game, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and the piano track to this stage is unforgettable. Back in the day, I loved the idea of infiltrating during a dinner party and walking around putting smoke generators and vents clear as day in front of all the guests. It just doesn't get old. You have to find some sheet music for a pianist, which is fun if only because the piano gets louder and louder as you near it and quieter as you walk away, which actually wasn't so commonplace in games back then, so yeah, marvel at it. But the true joy begins when Ethan Hunt, not so sneakily, gets poison powder from the undercover bartender, places it into a champagne glass, making it the only bright pink beverage in the room, and pawns it off on some Slovakian ambassador who drinks it in that beautiful N64 way. He runs off to the bathroom and Ethan shuffles after him just to knock him out. And to quote what he says in a different mission, "Sorry for punching your ticket, bub, but I need to borrow your face." But the Facemaker was, and still is, such a cool item that kinda gave this game its own life, among obviously better spy games like GoldenEye. And you know, the levels that follow this one are technically still part of the same overarching mission, and they're also a lot of fun, but I realize I may be alone in that. As I said, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. So the question now becomes, do you guys have any guilty pleasure games that aren't really that great of games, but you love to replay them over and over again anyway? For some weird reason, it just tickles your fancy? I'd love to hear some of those in the comments. But moving on to another guilty pleasure game of mine, we come to Shadows of the Empire on the N64. Without a doubt, the highlight stage of this entire experience is the very first level, Battle of Hoth. I know I said no first levels, but this one makes you wish the entire rest of the game consisted of this kind of gameplay, and it's the level that inspired the Rogue Squadron series. For the first time on a home console, we got to step into the cockpit of a snowspeeder in first-person view and gun down probe droids, AT-STs, and even do a full 360-degree pass with the tow cable around AT-ATs. To this day, it feels so damn good. And I constantly get the itch to replay it over and over and over again. On Jedi, of course, because that's how you drag it out longer. Because after all, it claims to be the Battle of Hoth, but there are really like only 3 AT-ATs and a tiny smattering of the others. But you know what? I still think it's a better Hoth than some of the later Rogue Squadron interpretations of the famous scene. The tiny left to right and then left again swings as you dodge lasers is enough to please anyone who ever wanted to fly a snowspeeder or an X-Wing, and what's even more fun is the tiny camera changes that make it all easy to maneuver. I absolutely love barreling down an AT-ST in the later wave until I'm in dire need to evacuate and nearing the out-of-bounds area. At that point, you switch the camera to that crazy external panning view, get an awesome look at your smoking speeder, do a 180-degree turn, and then rapidly change the camera back to the cockpit and go finish that little devil for some satisfying as hell explosion sounds. Followed immediately by mashing the boost and swinging right along the legs of the walkers and throwing out that tow cable, the whole time to the authentic Hoth music from the film. God, even just talking about it, I want to play it again. Seriously, if I had to rank these replay value things in this video, this one might be the number one. But this is not a ranking, this is just talking about it, dude. And I suppose while we're talking Star Wars...
Red Leader, we've got you covered. I'm going after the towers. Cover me.
Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube's very first mission is the Death Star attack, which in its very nature has the same replay value as Hoth for anyone who loves flying these Star Wars ships. And I know it's a first level, but shut up, it's awesome!
Squad leaders, we've picked up a new group of signals. Enemy fighters coming your way.
Now, while the firing and enemy destruction animation speeds are not nearly as chunky and satisfying as Shadows of the Empire, it's still really awesome to blow up the Death Star in true 3D, as opposed to how it was portrayed in Super Star Wars on the Super Nintendo. Which was super, of course, but not true 3D.
The Force is strong with this one. Use the Force, Luke.
But even better as far as gameplay, I think goes to the first Rogue Squadron on Nintendo 64 and its final main story level, the Battle of Mon Calamari. In this mission, you take control of the V-Wing for the first time with the luxury of homing cluster missiles that can take down whole squadrons of TIE interceptors. But the true joy and replay value of this mission is packed in the task of destroying those approaching Devastators. These huge machines that somehow actually are scary looking for basically just being a box with a vacuum on the back. Kinda like how when you were a kid you were scared of the air conditioner and the brave little toaster. You gotta fly to the top and take out the shield generators, then swing low to take out the leg jets before they cross the coastline. There's just something about piloting cool ships and dismantling giant machinery things that feels awesome every time. Add a couple waves of fast ties that give a reason to use the homing missiles and urgent Star Wars music, and my gosh if you're not replaying that stage. But hey, as cool as it would be to fly a V-Wing or an X-Wing or a Snowspeeder, do you know what fantasy ship I really want?
Entering Venom Air Defense Zone.
You're damn right it's an R-Wing. Area 6 of Star Fox 64 is pure frickin' gold and will test your button mashing endurance more than anything else in the game if you're going for a cartridge-breaking score. From the start, you break 100 hits almost instantly with smart bombs against the space mines, while simultaneously gunning down the satellites. Falco starts spouting some trash while you roll like a madman, and then all of a sudden they launch giant carrot missiles at you. But then the real fun begins as Peppy has a panic attack, Andros intercepts your radio to taunt you, while erratic enemies rain down fire and all these big points and satellites fly by, forcing you to somehow use the brake, while simultaneously attacking the A button, still rolling like a madman, only to find out that that was just the first line of defense. You're then greeted with some fancy enemy formations and a huge fleet. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna break through that fleet. Some on the left, some on the right, some high, some low, all while tiny squadrons distract from the big points that are flying past, still rolling and firing like a demon, your hands getting tired, but the enemy's getting desperate with her through the second line! Fire! Fire! Slippy starts messing up.
It's impossible this way!
Peppy loves that you're awesome with your hit +8s.
Good going, Fox!
And all of a sudden, the last line has been breached! These guys are crazy! Dang! Deploy it now! Alien spaceship comes in, swinging its balls all over. Huge rainbow laser takes up the whole screen unless you roll around it. Peppy's still freaking out. Destroy all 3 energy balls! Then with all of his desperation, he's like, the shield is gone! Shoot the core, damn it!
Fox, take it easy.
God, it's good stuff, every time. I'd take that over the big adventure games any day. But we aren't done being excited, dude. There are many other levels from that game like Zonus. This is Zonus? You're damn right it is. And I could go on about all of them, but for brevity's... Wait a second. You hear something? What's that I hear? Oh yeah, right into more fast-paced action comes Armored Armadillo stage in Mega Man X. The game is near flawless, so every stage has outstanding replay value, but Armored Armadillos in particular checks all the boxes that make Mega Man fun. From the start, the speed requirement is fulfilled as you barrel down a slope on a minecart, blasting bats and ostrich-looking things. You do a flying leap over the gap, the music starts getting uncontrollably awesome, some crusher starts grinding away the stage with that noise, you know, revealing a sub-tank and opening up the opportunity to roast the thing with fire and keep on moving. The next section features a lot of diagonally downward descent, with enemy placement perfect for utilizing various Maverick weapons like More Fire or Sting Chameleon, if you have it. Then it's another sweet minecart section with more weapon blasting fun before a huge descent that lands you right in front of another one of those crusher things. Only thing to do is dash like mad, take a quick pit stop to jump for the health increase, and book it to the next minecart, which launches you through chunks of robots, then among a flock of robotic birds, before ultimately flinging you out over an abyss right into the boss door. The beauty of this stage is the non-stop movement, from start to finish, with heavy guitar shredding to assist the awesomeness. Armored Armadillo himself has a nice pattern that makes for an enjoyable fight. And just the sound effects of it all and the boss explosion feel like a satisfying meal that you can't wait to have again the next time you're hungry. And like I said, I could easily do this same thing for every other stage in this magnificent game, but I'm gonna leave it there and move on to the next game. Mega Man X2's highest replay value I'd personally have to give to Flame Stag's level. It's got the song you can't wait for when you boot up the game again, and a lot of the common lava stage hustle and bustle. You gotta jump atop crumbling rock platforms to avoid lava, ride robotic beetles to gain access to power-ups, and crash them into the mountainside to access the rest of the level. There's a big vertical climb while lava rises to add a feeling of intensity, more sinking rocks, and finally one more vertical climb against steam traps and wall-clinging enemies. While nothing about this game quite reaches the caliber of Mega Man X1, this short and sweet stage packs enough of the good stuff to be fun every time. Might as well keep going with the Mega Man block, dude, with Crush Crawfish of Mega Man X3. He's got one of the game's better songs and a whole lot of things to sniff out, starting with a Triad Thunder Punch to bust the ground and grab a new ride armor that you can immediately hop in, blow up a bunch of bridges, and grab the heart container. After the bit and bite room, the rest of the stage is pretty straightforward, but there's an entrance to Vile's lab, and this is usually the point in the playthrough where I go to it. But I guess technically that doesn't count as Crush Crawfish's stage. But speaking of the fish guy himself, he's got a pretty easy pattern, but it's fun enough to be that morsel of enjoyment that you crave every time. Last one to talk about for the Mega Man X series is X4, where Magma Dragoon's level calls out for replaying most of all. It's got awesome music, smatterings of enemies and lava geysers everywhere to keep the jumping and attacking fluid, and the final section lets you take a mech into the lava itself and then ultimately bash it through a lower path of blocks and bring it to the boss fight for an extra bit of assistance. Magma Dragoon himself emulates Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter, but it's a fight that feels good every time as both X or Zero. Hey, the rest of the X series might be pretty forgettable, but what about those 8-bit masterpieces? The fan-favorite Mega Man 2 is home to Airman Stage, which just has all the basic needs set to music that really rocks, man! You hop across these slightly angry and bewildered weirdos and onto some spinning cloud platforms that give you just enough waiting time to enjoy the music further, before entering more cloud-covered area with squadrons of birds dropping egg bombs down. But it's an easygoing music appreciation session. You jump, you shoot, you dance. And then you come to these power-squatting chunks blowing chest fans at you like some Care Bear rejects, before ultimately taking on the master of oscillation himself. Heck yeah, dude! You're gonna sit there and try to tell me that these simple ingredients get boring after one playthrough? Allow me to T-blow you right out of here. Mega Man 3, dude! Sparkman! His stage is full of little electric traps and doodads, all of your basic jumping and shooting needs, and even some dude swinging his nuts around. Again, these are the 8-bit days. There's not anything overly complex here. It's just all the essential pieces with more fantastic music, until some super sketchy platforming section, and if you can get by that, Sparkman himself makes squatting and hopping look joyous. And it's fun timing your dodges between his sparks. He's everything I love about 8-bit bosses, actually. Nice pattern, satisfying sound effects, and overall a gratifying experience. And once again, dude, for Mega Man 2 and 3, we can probably be talking about every robot master, like Snake Man! But we gotta move on. Mega Man 4 through 9 all have high replay value worth mentioning, such as Mega Man 5's Gravity Man with its Mario Galaxy gimmick way before its time. But for variety's sake on this list, I think it's time to bust into a different franchise. The World Circuit of Punch-Out. I'm gonna include the whole circuit as one level based on the way the password system works. There's no argument against Punch-Out. As soon as you see Little Mac in all his 8-bit glory with those quick dodges and uppercuts, and you hear that fight music, you're all in. Any day, any time. The fighters of the World Circuit become more than mere punching bags with super fun and gratifying patterns to master. You got your like 1, 2, 3, dodge, 1, 1, 2, dodge, stick and move, stick and move. And if you fall down, you get right back up, because that's what champions do. It might just be you alone in your living room after a garbage day in this garbage life, feeling like a dope going nowhere, but damn it, you're gonna deliver that gut punch to Bald Bull for the TKO, cause you ain't a coward! And when it's all over, you'll don those pink sweats and jog behind Doc Lewis, an accomplished man. Uh-oh. What's that I hear?
Alley-cat blues.
Bodacious dudes! I don't care what year it is or what responsibilities we now have as grown adults. When Alley Cat Blues comes up, you get your best friend and you go kick shell. Smacking fire hydrants into the Foot Clan, falling into sewers wondering who put the lights out, all set to the jazziest rocking tune with that sweet sound font used in all the Konami Turtles games, just to hear metalheads say, "I'm gonna turn you into turtle soup." It doesn't get any more classic than this. The rightly named Turtles in Time, for it is indeed the most timeless of all beat-em-ups. But among the beat-em-up genre comes another endlessly replayable level, Stage 5 of Battletoads Double Dragon: The Ultimate Team. David Wise's killer soundtrack comes exploding in as if to reward you for making it past the toughest part of the game, which for the first time as a kid, finally beating that damn spaceship level felt amazing. In Stage 5, you're atop a rocket speeding toward Earth, with jets and fire traps all over and a bunch of the Dark Queen's rat minions walking around, and some crazy shuriken throwing dudes. It takes all the best of your timing skills to get through each of the rocket's sections, and there are these big bad rat mini-bosses along the way, but if you're playing as one of the dragons, it's just an endurance test of giving them the boot. The energy of this place just screams go time. You're on the last stretch with just 2 levels to go until you beat the game, so don't start slacking. The boss, Robo Manus, is nothing but a chunky pinball that's a lot of fun to try to juggle off the edge of your boot or your forehead if you're one of the toads. Keep him airborne and he can't do a thing. It all just makes you want to blitz through it. But speaking of going fast, the chemical plant zone of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 just might be the easiest stage in all of Sonic to highlight what he's known for. In Act 1, all it takes is a brief setup atop a slope, a down press to turn into a deadly spinball, and then just essentially let the level autoplay itself. All you have to do is occasionally tap down so Sonic stays gaining momentum in ball form, and otherwise do some mild platforming and airborne steering. The rest is just sitting back and watching the spectacle set to that awesome jam. And a little bit of hope, too, that those pneumatic tubes swoosh you onto the better paths. Act 2 can be a little bit trickier with its infamous drowning section and the final sketchy jumps to Robotnik, and even the glitchy hitbox on the Robotnik fight itself. But the speedy loops of the first half of the level are just as awesome as Act 1. There's just something so smooth and satisfying about trying to stay fast and only on the ground in the non-auto sections as minimally as possible. The whole zone is the part of Sonic 2 that really makes me want to keep playing. And while we're on the topic, the most endlessly enjoyable level of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, if we can't pick Green Hill, has gotta be the Starlight Zone. After the threat of drowning in the Labyrinth Zone prior, this music comes twinkling in like a blanket, and sets the very mood for how you play. On the whole, Sonic 1 isn't nearly as fast as Sonic 2, with far more platforming sections and waiting around, but in this zone, it's all perfectly fine. It gives you more time to mellow out to the music, and the enemy traps don't really feel too challenging. It's like an easy stroll before the end, with little springy gizmos that you don't really love, but you don't really hate them either because it all just feels too happy. Even if you lose all your rings, it feels okay, aside from the fact that it invaded the delightful music so violently with its own noise. While I personally don't often replay Sonic 1, when I do, I cannot wait to get to this place, and it's the part that keeps me pushing through. When it comes to the highest replay value of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I'd probably have to go with Flying Battery Zone. It has really cool music, and despite the many obstacles, it can still be traversed fairly quickly with very little annoying stuff getting in the way. I really like the mechanic of swinging off of the propellers outside into lines of rings. And it's all designed to just keep on going, even if you gotta stop to hit a switch or something, you're expected to just keep going and trust your instinct that it's gonna be okay. Sonic 3 has quite a number of cool zones actually, but I personally don't have enough experience with the game to be good at them, because I came to it kinda later in life. But whenever I think about Sonic 3, Flying Battery immediately comes to mind, and much like Starlight Zone from the first game, the knowledge that it's coming up keeps me pushing through some of the earlier zones, unless of course I just do the level select code, which is extremely hard to do though. And one last Sonic mention is an exception to my rule of no first stages. Sonic Adventure 2's City Escape. It's the perfect opening to a decent 3D Sonic, with the huge downhill snowboarding section, if you can call it snowboarding, and that peppy song to just make you feel good. Pulling stunts off the ramps is gratifying every time, and once on foot, grinding on the rails doesn't stop being cool. The final section of the level with that big loop that chains into the cinematic running down the side of a building, onto a spring, to a hanging bar, to then flip to a far ledge, and ultimately get chased by a massive truck, is just the perfect action sequence to open a game. Unfortunately, it really is the best the game has to offer in terms of replay value. I mean, without a doubt, the Sonic and Shadow levels are the greatest thing about this game, and all of them are fun to replay to a degree, but City Escape really just wins out. But if I had to choose a level that isn't City Escape, I'd probably have to give it to Radical Highway for the endlessly fun loops and Shadow's cool skating animation. The only downside to that stage is the waiting on platforms kind of midway through, and if I had to guess, it's probably the dark character stage that everybody in the world has replayed the most due to the fun nature of it. Metal Harbor is another fantastic level from the game that's a quick dose of fun anytime, but again, I think City Escape truly is the most replayed level of that game. Man, so many words have just been spoken. How you guys holding up? Doing alright? Let's move on from Sonic to another guilty pleasure of mine.
Oh great, I'm stuck in colonial times, tentacles are taking over the world, and now the toilet's backing up.
Okay, come over here. It's your old pal, Dr. Fred.
Dr. Fred, how'd you get in there?
Day of the Tentacle, a game that to me is the pinnacle of old-school point-and-click adventures. To single out a particular stage, I have to go with Hoagie's entire section. The heavy metal-loving slob finds himself trapped in colonial times after a time-travel mishap, and it's easily the funniest part of the entire game. You gotta play pranks on parody figures of the founding fathers of the United States, all of whom have hilarious voices and lines, in order to acquire ingredients for a super battery needed to power up the Chronogon and get back to the correct time period. That's right, this game uses bathrooms as time travel devices. To this day, I have a good laugh at all the stupid jokes and quotes throughout the ordeal, and with the number of times I've replayed it as a kid and an adult, I could probably quote every line in sequential order as they happen. I think my favorite sequence in this part is how you must paint a kumquat tree red to look like cherries, then go insult George Washington's cherry tree chopping ability to trick him into ruining his reputation of cutting down exclusively only cherry trees. Another good one is how you have to use a novelty exploding cigar from the 90s to blow George Washington's teeth out of his mouth, just to hand him a pair of chattering teeth so that Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock think he's freezing and bicker about building a fire. Also, you could steal a blanket to cover the chimney later to steal a gold-quilted pen to power up your bathroom time travel machine. The whole thing is perfect absurdity with subtle, stupid humor, and it will never for the rest of my life get old.
I bet you've lost it. You couldn't cut down a tree to save your grandmother. Lost it, have I? Why, I'd show you a thing or two if there were a cherry tree nearby. But as you can see, well, what do you know? There is a cherry tree out there. Well, let's go chop the sucker down. Voila! You're quite a man. Yes, I know. Scratch one kumquat tree.
But now, let's fly over to something rare. SS Anubis from Jet Force Gemini on the N64. This sci-fi shooter adventure game is jam-packed full of bugs needing splatting. And the battle carrier SS Anubis is one of the earliest and most memorable parts. It's divided into sections, but your first stop you will want to be the upper variant called the Depository, if it's the homing rocket launcher you're after. This huge area is a maze of blue stacks of crates, and around every corner is a blue ant to splat, most commonly with a super satisfying machine gun. Robin Beanland's music is one of the many standouts of this often forgotten game, and it really adds huge feeling to the atmosphere, making first-timers hesitant of what might be around the next bend. The main area of the Anubis is called the Hold, and the very first room is classic third-person shooting fun. You must be careful not to splat the teddy bears being held prisoner by massive bug drones. So your pistol and plasma shotgun will not only aid you, but add gameplay variety and strategy to the room. A sequence I'd replay anytime. The next rooms take you through squadrons of airborne bugs and some platforming, during all of which you must look out for prison cell power supplies to destroy. The final room before those prison cells is a huge storage area with a conveyor, squadrons all over and mines hidden in all the nooks. Conquering it all lets you access those cells and save the remaining teddy bear tribals. And finally, the last part of the SS Anubis that you come to much later in the game is called the Passageway. It is a huge chasm that must be traversed via jetpack, with enemies stationed on either side and air squadrons frequently in the center. Just the scale of it all combined with the music really packed a punch back in '99. And it still feels good every time. Jet Force Gemini has a lot of great stuff like this, but just like all the other stages mentioned in this video, this is the level of the game that really gets you feeling it. Moving from third-person shooter to my personal favorite first-person shooter of all time, Perfect Dark. You're gonna make me pick only 3 levels from it as the most replayable? You're killing me, Smalls. Well, I'm gonna activate a cheat here and count entire missions as 1 level, starting with the game's first mission, the Data 9 Tower and rescue of the AI sapient Dr. Carroll. Dr. Carroll, are you here? Defection has you work your way down the building from the helipad, planting bugs on computers to disable the security on the way to the offices, where you must grab a worker for access to a computer storing Dr. Carroll's personality. You knock the clown out before he erases it, download a backup copy, and book it to the elevators with your CMP 150 ready to use its awesome follow lock-on mode on the mess of guards down on the bottom floor. You disable the external security and run to the laboratory elevator for a sweet stealth mission. Below, you must manipulate cleaning robots to open the way to the research labs, gunning down many guards along the way, then steal prototype Datadyne equipment like night vision and shield technology, shut down their experience, and blitz to the secure sector where Dr. Carroll is hiding. You grab the laptop dude, head back up to level 1, but by this point they're onto you and they shut off the lights, forcing you to use that prototype night vision and fight your way back up to the helipad. But they've locked many of the doors and even have a helicopter gunship circling the perimeter and raining fire down. After a final encounter with the CEO, Cassandra DeVries herself, you pull a crafty maneuver to stay alive and get the heck out of there. My second pick for this game would have to go to the G5 building infiltration mission, which starts you in the stormy streets of Chicago. This level takes about a minute or less if you blitz through it, knocking out FBI guards along the way, grabbing some gadgets that were point dropped ahead of your arrival, placing a tracer bug on a limo, hacking a flying taxi to cause a distraction, setting an explosive for your escape once inside the building, and sneaking in through the car park lift. Inside the G5 building, you have to take out cloaked guards for deeper access, shut down laser security traps and a damping field generator, spy on a meeting of conspirators, and ultimately hack a huge safe where a personality backup disk for Dr. Carroll sits just before exploding the trap set up outside and escaping through the wall. It's all just super short and sweet spy stuff with fluid gameplay. Finally, the last pick I'd have to give to the Area 51 mission set, which consists of infiltration, rescue, and escape. The infiltration can be quite a headache, as this entire mission set is notorious for its difficulty. But essentially, you disable all forms of security and bug their communication system before accessing the hangar bays leading to the research labs. If you make it through, you rendezvous with your fellow agent Jonathan, who tells you about an explosive crate, but screw his logic. You speed strafe like a demon, as any good N64 player brought up on GoldenEye would, to the elevator. Do your best to take out priority guards, steal one of their weapons called the Dragon, which has a secondary function of a proximity mine. Simply plant that by the weak wall at the end of the warehouse section and shoot it, and suddenly you're in the top secret labs with limited time. You have to run to the cryogenic chambers and scan one of the captured aliens that is beyond saving at this point, then run through the halls toward the showers, destroying the medical records along the way. Once you grab a lab worker's disguise, you have mere moments to get to the surgical labs and stop them from dissecting the still-living alien friend known as Elvis. In a last-ditch effort, the guards fill the place with poison gas and begin to suspect the undercover Jonathan, so you gotta book it with Elvis and get him stowed away to a secure area, then fight your way to Jonathan, who's hiding in a corner. As soon as you meet up, the guard retaliation gets way more intense, and the two of you must fight your way to the hangar with an alien medpack to bring consciousness back to our awesome alien buddy. And finally, with Elvis awake, it's a deathly scary race to open the hangar doors and escape via UFO before any of the guards kill you. Breathing is a thing. Sorry for the lengthy description, but man, this game just might be the one I've replayed the most in my entire lifetime. I have to also give honorable mention to the Carrington Villa mission and Pelagic 2, but that's all I'll say for brevity's sake. Combined with the insane amount of options in multiplayer mode, if you're looking for replay value, Perfect Dark sits at the top as a shining example of how to do it. But moving on, I can read your mind and know exactly where to go next. The Forefather, GoldenEye. This game, even before Perfect Dark came to be, is another in which the entirety of it can qualify for this list. Pick any level and there's an excellent argument for extremely high replay value. But once again, we can only pick 3 levels, but also once again in praise of the beautiful unlockable cheats in both of these games. Let's count entire mission sets as levels and also make an exception to one of my rules. Starting with the very first mission, the infamous movie opening made into a game. The dam is actually the weak link in this argument, but man, if the music doesn't kick ass! What was just a mere intro scene in the film is now this full mission involving planting bugs and erasing computer data before making the bungee jump to the weapons facility. But everything from the first tower to the truck, to the guard placement, to the guns, to the mystery unreachable island, it just sets the groundwork and planted one happy seed in all of our heads back in '97. But everything gets better when we get to the facility. Could there be anything in gaming more memorable than those toilets? The gratifying silenced headshot from the vents, bust out of the stall to the urinal guy, and open the other stall to the dude just happily standing there, because why not? Whether you savor every morsel of this level and goof around, or you speed strafe like a demon to Dr. Doak and 006 in an effort to unlock the invincibility cheat, this place is like a masterclass on how you create infinite replay value. combine it with the cheat system and come back as a walking explosion, or just screw around with the scientists. It somehow never gets old. And that final moment with 006 as you plant the charges on the pipes as he shoots the wall, taking his time, of course, to get his steps right first, in that beautiful N64 way. Could there be anything more classic? But the fun doesn't stop as you slide out to the runway to that monster beat created by Graham Norgate, secure a tank, and just go to town on all the crap with the glorious sound clips as you run over the guards, all before finally getting in that plane and escaping. Sure, there may not be a cool motorcycle sequence like in the movie, but that tank has brought many smiles over the years. Alright, now after a lot of uncertain thinking, I'm gonna go for my second pick to Mission 4, the Monte Carlo Frigate, and claim that it has some of the highest replay value in this game. Another liberty taken from a super brief scene in the film, this mission involves rescuing hostages from the Giannis organization and defusing bombs around the ship, and of course actually planting a tracking bug on the armored helicopter that I think Bond actually fails to do in the movie, if I recall correctly. What's awesome about this mission is the tight quarters and the weapon layout, giving you for the only time in the game access to the Phantom, which both just looks and sounds cool. Navigating your way around the ship and carefully lining up your shots to avoid killing the hostages just has this satisfying feel to it, and the map layout is kind of a neat circuit. You end where you started, but only after completing all the objectives. It may not be that important story-wise, but gameplay-wise, it's a welcome one anytime. And finally, once again, for brevity's sake, I'm only going to talk about one stage for this last pick, and that is, of course, the Cradle. A stage which rivals the facility in terms of the level most replayed in this entire game in the entire world. Everything from Grant Kirkhope's awesome music to the challenge to the witty remarks is just bloody perfect. And with the cheat system, the number of variable ways you can take on the level seems endless. But the standard fare no cheats is up there in my lifetime statistics as the most replayed level in any video game I've ever touched. You start with the challenging rush up the first ramp, just hoping your aim gets to the guy in the fog giving Bond an asthma attack somewhere up there. And then it's the oh-so-sweet, satisfying finger dance from right C to left C and back to right C as you sidestep along the satellite and down the next ramp, take out the two chumps, get your ZMG ready, doubles if you have them, take out that gun emplacement and barge through the door firing. Strafe to the computer, bust that thing, and then it's the most satisfying boss fight any first-person shooter has ever pulled off, as you just chase your former ally all over the satellite, lining up your shots in any crafty way that you see fit. One of my favorite hidden dialogue lines in this stage happens if you are really low on health, but you speed strafe fast enough along the bottom to catch up to or even surpass Trevlin. He makes some remark about how Bond is looking tired, which is just another nice bit tacked on to his usual lines. 00 agent difficulty is the only way to go, to drag this sequence out and add the challenge of surviving in the endless guards. All until that awesome music change when suddenly Trevlin books it so fast to the bottom platform that at times it looks like he's gonna run off the level boundaries. But once you make that final drop down to the skinny platform, your only hope besides staying alive is that Trevlin's death animation plops him over the edge for that awesome cutscene from 2 angles. But hey, if you don't get lucky and he just face plants on the floor, that just means play it again. Maybe see what happens if you use only mines or the shotgun. Can the silver PP7 kill him before he even runs to the end platform? What about the rocket launcher? What if you turn on slow animation or fast animation and DK mode just to see some silly cutscenes? Yes, indeed. The Cradle is one of the greatest levels of all time and shows how to make simplicity endlessly fun. Honorable mention would have to go to the train, and you know what? The depot, the archives. As I said, there's an argument for all of these fantastic stages. But let's carry on, shall we? Oh, what's that? You really want to talk about the train? Well, here's a worthy compromise. Timesplitter's Future Perfect's train level called the Callus Express. Come on, Moon Man, we got a boogie. Cloudy rainbow, come in, cloudy rainbow. This is Shower of Gold. Heck yeah, dude, this level rocks. You, as Sergeant Cortez, have to team up with the over-the-top disco-loving Harry Tipper to stop the madman Callus from running over his girl and blowing up the world. It's classic action sequence atop a speeding train that in many ways surpasses what GoldenEye's train had to offer. After some really cool outdoor sections, you eventually come to the classic train car section with guards coming out of random doors and nothing but a hallway to take them out in. Then you come out to a helicopter trying to blow you up, requiring activating some surface-to-air missiles. After another car full of oil and fire traps, your future self appears to take out the chopper for good, leaving you to cover him. After the massive explosion, you work your way to an awesome weapons room full of ammo, health, and armor before hopping to the next train via time wormhole, instantly making you Future Cortez. So now it's your job to use a rocket launcher and destroy that chopper while your past self takes care of the guards. Then you hop trains again just to land in another tight quarters train car, eventually rendezvousing with Harry Tipper and confronting the madman Callus himself. He arms a giant French missile, forcing you to escape his gas trap and finagle with a circuit puzzle to disarm the thing. The last step is a shootout against Callus himself, flying around like a lunatic. And then the final rush to crank back on that emergency brake before it runs over Harry's girlfriend. That's cherry, baby. It's probably the game's best mission, and I mean, who doesn't love an action sequence involving trains? And so that's why we're sitting here talking about how it packs high replay value.
Not even close.
But there's word being tossed around in the wind of another insanely awesome level from the same franchise.
Dead or alive.
That's right, baby. Wild West from Time Splitters 2. Once again, Graham Norgate from GoldenEye's Runway level brings us an absolutely brilliant soundtrack for this classic Western shootout with revolvers and vintage rifles against guys with outstanding names like Mikey Two Guns, Jared Slim, Hector Barbosa, and Jebediah Crump. How do you not love it already? First you drain whiskey barrels just for the hell of it, then sprinkle gunpowder to a wagon full of TNT to spring a friend out of jail. How's it taste, Mad Dog Tannen? Then you weave your way around the corner to this awesome town center full of saloons and a big barn and quite the motley crew of outlaws stationed in all the best spots to drive home that western thing. There's also a hugely endowed woman trapped in a fire by the name of Venus Star. 2 R's on the end of that name, so you know what she's up to. But you gotta save her. And what's the solution in the Wild West? That's right, whiskey. So you blast holes in the barrels that act like water instead of alcohol, allowing the dear lady to escape with a wow, thanks. But you ain't done. The Colonel is out there and nobody messes with him. So you run through the mining tunnels to the prospector's hut where he's hiding out, and he'll threaten you with that, "You can try, lawman, but you'll never take me alive." But screw that mess. Pump him full of lead. The time crystal and the splitters appear for a super scary final stretch, just praying a bullet doesn't come flying out of nowhere and kill you mere footsteps away from that time portal. Yes, this is why we need Time Splitters 4. But let's jump ahead in history to another fantastic level from Time Splitters 2. Chicago. And I've had a belly full of it. Everyone's on the take. The DA, City Hall, even the cops on the beat, being paid to turn a blind eye. But me? Nah, I couldn't. So I got out. It's all down to Mr. Big. He's cost me everything. So tonight I sent him a message. And boy will he take the bait. What am I worried about? It's not me that's gotta tell the boss. And Braces can handle himself. Yeah, he can look after himself. What? He's back in town. What? He's back and he's looking for you. Braces? Come on, you stupid! I want that son of a... I want him dead, you hear me? Dead! Dead? Yeah, we'll see about that. But from now on, Big, you better watch the shadows. Because I'm taking you down. Heck yeah, dude! Talking about 1930s gangsters and prohibition? These wise guys got names like Slick Tommy, Jimmy Needles, Hatchet Sal, Louie Big Nose, Braces, and Big Tony. You start off with that smooth music over by the docks, so you have to work your way to the streets, draining illegal whiskey barrels as you go. And as you pass by a telephone booth, it happens to be ringing. So you pick it up and the guy on the other line says, "Hey there, it's Marco. Meet me at the newsstand down the main street." But as you ready your Tommy gun, suddenly a car busts out of the corner and comes speeding and swerving down the alley. It's Big Tony's brother trying to escape, so you gotta unload on it before he gets away. Then there's a classic bar scuffle with guys pouring in saying stuff like, "Why I oughta," and "Okay boss, I'll teach him a lesson." Eventually, you meet up with Marco the Snitch, and must escort him to safety, where you get info on where Tony keeps his pass to the Sunrise Club. So you bring some TNT to a separate building, watch out for snipers, and blow the safe open. And then the rest of your success lies on those good old phone booths that no longer exist in our real world. Because you gotta call for a taxi to get past the gate of the club, and the lady on the other line says, "Of course we'll send you a taxi, sir." You take cover behind the thing and just go in guns blazing. And if you want, you could try to call another taxi just for fun to hear the lady's voice again as she says, "All of our taxis are busy at the moment." From there, it's just a few weaves to the Sunrise Club where Big Tony both has the time crystal and he's pissed that you're in his club. It's a Tommy gun shootout followed by inbound time splitters as you make your escape to the portal. There's just something great about it all, man. A silly take on mobsters that's fun every time. And for one last first-person shooter, I just want to include EA's 007 Agent Under Fire, specifically the stage Streets of Bucharest. This level brings the James Bond action that was missing from GoldenEye, planting you in the Aston Martin DB5, speeding along alleyways in search of a data chip that was ejected from a damaged helicopter. It's non-stop missile firing action with Bond music in the background, which is a fine ingredient for replay value. There are a few shortcuts to take and automatic vehicle stunts that occur, as well as some leaps between buildings. The Q locator has been dropped by the train station, which has 2 helicopters guarding it, creating an awesome moment for a homing missile shot, quick 180 followed by another missile, and of course that James Bond jingle to follow to congratulate you on your 007 behavior. The last step is to grab a Q booster and launch yourself across a river into a building. It's not how you treat an Aston Martin. But in a very cheeky way, Bond switches to a random tank, and for the rest of the level you're driving around the streets very GoldenEye-like. Unfortunately, this second half is kind of a slow on-rails section, so it loses some of that fun the first part had. But the bullets never stop flying, keeping you busy and destructive the whole way until ultimately you destroy a train and an entire bridge. Short, sweet, and action-packed, and that's why I like it. I could name a few more levels from this game, and I know that there are many fans of the sequel, Nightfire, as well as some of the other EA James Bond games. But I think we should move on from first-person shooters and think about finishing this video sometime.
Smashing entrance, wouldn't you say?
No, I wouldn't, 007.
2 more quick mentions are from the first 2 Tony Hawk games, which I'm going to use footage from the remaster for because I still have the files on my computer for easy access. Tony Hawk 1's level that I replayed more than any of them has got to be the mall. Sure, the warehouse and school are classic, but the mall is every middle school kid's fantasy skate park and made for so much fun in graffiti and horse multiplayer matches. The run-down aesthetic added in the remaster is a nice touch that keeps up with the times. And absolutely the best thing the remaster did for this stage is make the end point warp you back to the start. So now even in single session mode, you can fly down the thing and not have to worry about ending the run early, but rather hitting the same ramps and rails all over again until the 2 minutes is up. For Tony Hawk 2, I'd have to give it to School 2. I personally really love the New York stage in this game, but School 2 was a neat improvement of sorts on the first one, with the leap of faith in those roll call rails, and also just that beginning section where you wall ride the bell to the roof and proceed to grind all the way to where TC's roof gap is. The leap over the huge library building for the hidden tape is a lot of fun, and everything around this level is just the perfect bite-sized park with a lot of cool stuff for a 2-minute session. And that's the core of Tony Hawk's replay value. A lot of fun packed into tiny moments, causing you to crave more tiny moments. So you play it again, and all is well with the world. One last serious-toned game before we round this thing out with a bunch of happy-go-lucky Nintendo classics. What I often refer to as my favorite game of all time, Super Metroid. There are 2 sections of this sci-fi adventure shooter that never grow stale for me, and make the most of the game's fluid controls, but I have a whole separate video going heavily into detail on what I love about this game, so I'll try to be a little more brief here. First is Brinstar. Home to a plethora of power-ups all laid out in a fun way. Immediately as you descend into the jungle, the music has you hooked. And if you want, you can mock ball to sequence break super missiles and a reserve tank for your first collectibles in this area. And honestly, it is this sequence breaking of this game that makes it so enjoyable to replay again and again, particularly Brinstar. As you take in the atmosphere progressing through the pink area, you get the chance to do a nice wall jump for an early missile expansion. Then grab the charge beam and the remaining expansion down below. You can sequence break with a trick to enter Spore Spawn's super missile room from the exit door without having to fight Spore Spawn. Which again is just another neat thing you don't learn until you replay the game. But otherwise you carry on through the jungle, grabbing an expansion hidden in a tube on the wall with a fluid wall jump to Morph Ball if you want to be fancy about it. But when you get to the Red Tower area, the game's logic wants you to fall all the way down and progress to Upper Norfair. But with some crafty wall jumps, you can instead head up and through the Hellway to grab power bombs early, thus unlocking a few other rooms with energy tanks and weapon expansions back in the earlier parts of Brinstar you just ran by. You could loop back right now if you want and go grab those things, but otherwise you're good to fall down the Red Tower like the game wants you to, and blast your way into Kraid's warehouse, who's always a lot of fun to fight the legitimate way or the quick kill way. But it all ends with you obtaining the Varia suit, meaning you can traverse all of Norfair without having to come back up the elevator. It just feels good to use the skills taught in your first playthrough on a brand new playthrough to break the expected logic path and shorten your overall playtime. Which isn't really breaking the game because it's exactly what they want you to do without having to say a word about how. Super Metroid is the godfather of sequence breaking, and it begs to be replayed and toyed with. But as far as normal gameplay, the second area of this game that I can replay over and over again and never get tired of is Ridley's hideout called Lower Norfair. I will never forget how it made me feel the first time as a kid, and it has never stopped being an awesome slow progression of intensity leading to a boss. Just the low hum of Upper Norfair's music and the bubbly lava sounds as you enter the door that's decorated by Ridley's skull and leads to an ominous elevator. That silence before Lower Norfair's music kicks in is just perfect. And as you wait for the elevator to end, those tribal drums just keep pounding, letting you know you're walking toward death, basically. And you're immediately greeted with violent lava geysers on the way to the Chozo statue to drain the lava, as the worrisome chanting starts up and the screen just starts to shake. You go to where was once submerged, only to find brand new enemies with way more health. But then the music just cuts out as you enter the next room, preventing it from escalating until it's the proper time. But in that beautiful Metroid way, this safety room doesn't feel safe at all. And as you drop down, suddenly the gold Terizo falls from above, stronger than any of the previous ones you fought, and starts raining wave projectiles at you and throws your super missiles back at your face. It scared the crap out of me when I was 6 years old, but it's such a nice touch. But you carry on, and you earn the Screw Attack ability to destroy things mid-jump and climb up the chambers, still with only that general silence in the background. The music only starts back up again when you're back in the lava area, and the road to Ridley truly begins with outstanding atmospheric design. You soon find yourself in a chamber full of weak pillars blocking the way and lava rising, so you just plow through with the Screw Attack, having this awesome endgame feel to it, which leads to a huge vertical chamber full of elite enemies trying to make the climb difficult. That, in turn, drops you out into a massive cave area with rapidly rising lava, forcing you to quickly find your way up, and eventually down again one room over where bird-like statues now decorate the entire place. It leads to some weird elevator spike trap, bringing you close to the lava again, before some crazy room full of TVs with ninja space pirates that only become weak every so often. The purpose of these TVs is to drive home the fact that Ridley has been watching you this entire time. But from here, you can only keep going left. There's no more up and down, it's just left. Into the next room, which is lined with fangs on the ceiling. By this point, the music is at its climax. There's glowing bricks among the strong enemies. And of course, the lava. I love this room, dude. There's something about it. Ever since I was 6, this room just drives home what the heck's happening here. But you go left once more into the next room, where the door's platform is a claw. And all of the other platforms are still these mechanical glowing bricks, leading to that eye door so nestled in at the end of the room. And of course, the music just stops abruptly as you pass through. Nothing happens for a moment, and then Ridley's eye appears along with his staple boss music. It's just an insane amount of atmosphere setting delivered solely through music and artistic decorations with the perfect level of progression. And even though these days you just fly through as fast as possible, what it slowly builds up in your head as you do fly through, it won't ever get old. Moving on to another atmospheric masterpiece is Donkey Kong Country's Blackout Basement. Sure, Jungle Hijinks is the poster level of this game, and once again, every level is good. But Blackout Basement has that song, man, and way less bonus rooms than Oil Drum Alley to interrupt it. Plus, the entire gimmick of turning out the lights every second or two is a lot of fun. Not only does the total blackness give you time to focus more on your auditory receptors and take in the beauty, but something satisfying happens in your brain when you know where something is or will be within the next second without actually being able to see it. So jump after jump is another beautiful progression building up within yourself in a way. And there's an extra gratifying feeling more so than normal success when you clear an obstacle. The level makes the experience exist in your head, man. What even is TV? And after the one bonus barrel of the place, you get dumped out by a keg, which you can conveniently chuck against the wall and ride to victory and also to one final secret area. The only problem is this level is short, and the bonus barrel appears exactly when the music hits its best part. So what can you do? That's right, play it again, son! Oh man, I'm rambling more than Cranky Kong at this point. So let's jump right ahead to another franchise, even though Donkey Kong Country 2 also has a plethora of levels and even better music. Milky Way Wishes of Kirby Superstar, for argument's sake, I'm going to count as one whole level. And it's the part of the game that many people often claim to be their favorite. All of the planets are fun to explore and sniff out where the copy abilities are hidden, and it's this on-the-fly ability to pick any obtained power that creates more replay value than your standard Kirby rules. Whatever power you want and whoever your friend wants to be, you can pick them at any time, creating a number of different possible ways to approach the same levels and enemies. The game mode also has a really cool finale, which again makes for the fastest boss battle to try every different power combination on. Even today, this mode and this game I think are the definitive Kirby experience, and that's why I've included it here. And one last rare game before we come to a final Mario montage. Diddy Kong Racing, my favorite kart racer of all time. It's quick and simple from start to finish, but the zippers and boost balloons feel so good. Especially with that added trick of letting go of the gas for a rainbow boost that goes an even greater distance. There are two racetracks of this game that I want to mention to represent the high replay value of the whole package. First is the mini battle map known as Dockwater Beach. There's just something so fun about this 4-player arena with everyone in a hovercraft inner tube, scrambling for red balloons that build up rocket ammunition. Much like Mario Kart battle modes, you have to hit players until they have no bananas left. No bananas for you! It's just simple fun that if it magically randomly appeared on your TV and also a controller just teleported into your hands, you'd happily have a go. The other level was very hard to choose from the array of fun tracks in this game, but I went with Dark Moon Caverns. This one in many ways is like this game's Rainbow Road. The music that plays is the same as what played in the credits sequence prior to unlocking the course, and it packs a grand finale feel with the kind of arrangement and instrumentation that only David Wise can pull off. The racetrack itself is a fun space-themed place, seemingly atop a big moon or an asteroid, with the highlight part being the dual loop-de-loops at the very end. Like every track in this game, the laps are quite short, leaving not much to talk about actually. But with stuff like this, it's all in how it feels. And for the song alone, it's very easy to keep coming back to this racetrack just to zone out. But in a very similar fashion, and because I already mentioned it, we have Rainbow Road of Mario Kart 64. What's there to say, really? It's the grand finale of a racing game that so many of us grew up with constellations of Mario characters adorning the sky. And it's a whole mood, man. Aside from the chain chomps and normal Mario Kart mayhem, it's a pretty straightforward victory lap to just sit back and relax, take it all in, you know? But hey, what about Super Mario Kart? You know what? I'm gonna be weird and say Bowser's Castle 1. The overloading lawnmower sound that your kart can achieve on this course just makes me happy. Even the boing noise of the jumps gets longer and more pronounced as you start hitting them faster and faster. So it's always fun to try and not bonk and keep hitting those double boosts. Whenever I play this game, I usually just pick the Mushroom Cup for some laid-back fun, and I always look forward to this track every time. So that's my choice to represent otherwise pretty obvious replay value that Mario Kart inherently has. And at long last, we come to the end of this list with the most impossible task: to choose only up to 3 levels that best represent the highest replay value of the big 5 retro Super Mario Bros. Games. How do you even do that? Super Mario Bros. 1. Well, it's gotta be 4-2, right? It's the stage with the most warps that you must play even after you take the first big warp in 1-2. You can just beat it, or you can run to the top like in 1-2, or you can sprout the hidden vine and go to either World 6, 7, or 8. That's quite a lot of options packed into one little course, so I guess that one would have to be my pick. But I mean really, how do you pick any one single Mario stage as the one? Super Mario Bros. 2. Hey, it's gotta be 1-2! You grab the carpet from the Pidgeot and glide along to the highly memorable area of 2 pipes, a cherry, and hopping ninjas. Grab the mush, plop down the right pipe for the key, and then you get a comfy dose of the game's underground business, with some small bomb puzzles before exiting back outside. You get dumped out on another memorable screen full of plants to pluck. But you can run along the top of the mountain thingy instead for a hidden potion to bring back to those veggies for coins instead. Then you do the Birdo thing, and my gosh, you're playing Mario Bros. 2. Let the memories wash over. Thanks, 1-2. Ah, geez, the truly impossible Super Mario Bros. 3. How do you pick even 3, let alone just 1? Well, okay, 6-10 is cool because of the super secret hammer suit that requires you to thaw out the munchers, backtrack to sprout a vine to a P-switch that turns them into coins, allowing you to enter that pipe. Then, of course, you've got those levels that are star runs. But you know what, dude? It's impossible. So I'm just gonna say Bowser's Castle. You fight really hard the whole way through the game to get there. It has awesome statues that fire lasers, and really unique, cool orange bricks. And just something about those brown donuts, man. The whole color palette of this place makes you wiggle in your chair and crave chocolate donuts by a fire. And then the Bowser fire starts to come in before the big guy himself with his super awesome music. Yeah, that's a good one. That's my pick. But seriously, limited to only 3 and not allowed level 1, what stages from Super Mario Bros. 3 would you say have the highest replay value of them all? It's not an easy task. Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. What a short, happy little package that thing is. But if I had to pick just one, my vote would go to 2-1. Even on the Game Boy in black and white, the sea foamy feel came through. And the music is just so relaxing and enjoyable. It makes you almost want to move nice and slow just to take it all in and let the music play. And last but not least, we come to the even more impossible to choose Super Mario World. Perhaps my favorite Mario game of all time. The level design in this one got really detailed and more interesting compared to the NES trilogy. And they're all good with high replay value. But the extra detail actually might make it easier to choose if you really think about it. The obvious choice is Donut Plains 1, the very level that basically is the first stage of the game yet isn't because it's World 2. This is the stage that I immediately picture in my head when I think of Super Mario World. Because those flying caped Koopas are unique to this game, with that first one giving you your very first cape you ever had in your life. I have a standout memory of playing this stage in an electronics store as a very young kid with my dad, and I remember his exact words. He said to me, "Hey, this is pretty neat. Do you like it?" To which I said, "Yeah, it's like that other Mario we play sometimes." Which led him to say, "Okay, let's get it." And we got a Super Nintendo and came home and played it together. The level is a training course for the cape, but one of the screens that is permanently etched in my brain, creating nostalgic longings, is the bonus room with that wedge leaning on a pipe that you run up, solely to learn how to use the cape floating mechanic to collect airborne coins. It was one of those moments of childhood wonder that I still remember the exact spot on the living room floor that I was sitting on when I got to that room for the first time. But stories aside, the stage also has a key exit, forcing you to at least play it twice anyway. And it's just that point in the playthrough where everything feels nestled into its comfy place, and so you're ready for more fun. A second pick for this game with great replay value would have to be Groovy of the Special World. It is the level that displays on the title screen, but you don't know it yet until you get there. It's a happy run featuring Yoshi gobbling up Pokies. And the most memorable part beyond the title screen's demo section is from the roulette box to the end. If you time it so you get a star, you get a chance for a bunch of lives as you run and hop into the Pokies and Piranhas, and most notably, the multi-tiered stack of Pokies just before that Piranha plant that jumps out of the blue pipe. It's a satisfying star run every time. And for my third and final pick, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it to you guys to ponder yourself what stage you would pick. There are many realistic answers as far as stages you'd frequently go to and start select out of, like the top secret area you always go to refresh your Yoshi and capes. Or Star World 2 just to get blue Yoshi, or is he purple? You could say Tubular because of the number of times players worldwide had to replay it due to failure. Or Yoshi's Island 2 just because it's the iconic spot where you first get Yoshi. Or Chocolate Island 2 because of its weird requirements to even unlock the correct exit and goal. Or Bowser's Castle because of its many door options. But at the end of the day, they're all good and give you that, "oh yeah" moment whenever you replay them for the first time in quite a long time. Ah, geez. So there you go, that's my list in no order of greatness whatsoever of levels in old school video games that have near infinite replay value. I realize there's a ton of games and stages missing, but just look how long this video is already merely talking about this handful. The bottom line is every single video game is designed with fun in mind, and the developers hope that you replay them, so literally anything can be on this list. But my goal was to show you pieces of non-adventure games from my childhood that I personally have never stopped playing over and over again. And why not adventure games? Where's Zelda? Aren't they infinitely replayable too? Yes, but as I said in the beginning, here's how I see it. The big adventure games like Ocarina of Time will always win the day as the greatest of all time, but they are like a massive cake. We all love massive cake, but you can't have a second massive cake immediately after the first one. You're too full. It's too much to digest. You need a break. Sit down. On the other hand, action, racing, platforming, puzzle, and short-level shooting games are like bite-sized chocolate morsels. You have one and it's super tasty, but not nearly enough to quench your hunger, so you gotta have more and more, another match, another race. Whatever the heck it is, until you've had enough to form a massive cake, and you realize, hey, that was one damn good cake. Just like Ocarina of Time. There's something to be said about these other genres of cake. So, go ahead and comment any game that I did not mention that you love to play over and over again, and I hope that you got some kind of enjoyment from this video. Also, nearly every game that I did mention, I have also done a casual Let's Play of, which you can find in the playlist section of my channel, with more to come, if you're interested. Until next time, I'm Bill, this is Good Old Days Gaming, and thanks for watching. How much replay value does this video have? Probably not much, it's super long. Shut up, go away, thank you, bye.